Just now, President Putin denied having anything to do with the election interference in 2016. Every U.S. intelligence agency has concluded that Russia did. My first question for you, sir, is who do you believe? My second question is, would you now, with the whole world watching, tell President Putin, would you denounce what happened in 2016, and would you warn him to never do it again?
So let me just say that we have two thoughts. You have groups that are wondering why the FBI never took the server. Why haven't they taken the server? Why was the FBI told to leave the office of the Democratic National Committee? I've been wondering that. I've been asking that for months and months, and I've been tweeting it out and calling it out on social media. Where is the server? I want to know, where is the server, and what is the server saying? With that being said, all I can do is ask the question. My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be, but I really do want to see the server. But I have confidence in both parties. I really believe that this will probably go on for a while, but I don't think it can go on without finding out what happened to the server. What happened to the servers of the Pakistani gentlemen that worked on the DNC? Where are those servers? They're missing. Where are they? What happened to Hillary Clinton's emails? 33,000 emails gone, just gone. I think in Russia they wouldn't be gone so easily. I think it's a disgrace that we can't get Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer. Okay? Thank you.
At the tail end of that incredible 2 minutes, President Trump echoed an offer from Vladimir Putin, made in private, to help with the Russia investigation. There is no documentation of what was actually said behind closed doors because, as the Washington Post reports, Donald Trump went to extraordinary lengths to conceal it. After one meeting with the Russian leader, Trump reportedly seized the notes of the American interpreter. We're going to speak with the person who broke that story, national security correspondent for the Washington Post, Greg Miller. That bombshell dropped just hours after the New York Times reported that the FBI had opened an inquiry into whether President Trump was secretly working on behalf of Russia. And we also have with us one of the reporters behind that piece, Michael Schmidt. On Saturday, the president was asked, point blank, have you ever worked for Russia? Nowhere in his 354-word answer did he say the word no. Welcome to Morning Joe on this Monday, January 14th. With us, we have columnist and associate editor for the Washington Post, David Ignatius. We've got the president of the Council on Foreign Relations and the author of the book, A World in Disarray, Richard Haass. And White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour, Yamiche Alcindor.
Now, we're going to get to those two incredible reports in a moment, but first, let's give you the context, the political context of what both Republicans and Democrats are going to be working under this week. New polling showing that Americans are clearly blaming President Trump and clearly blaming the Republican Party far more than Democrats for the government shutdown stalemate that continues to drag on. According to the Washington Post ABC News poll, 53% say Trump and the Republican Party are at fault, compared to only 29% who blame the Democrats. Similarly, in a new CNN poll, 55% blame the president. Only 32% say the Democrats are at fault. You break that down even further, polling shows that independents point the blame at the president and not the Democrats by a 53 to 23% margin. The 30% margin among independents. Every Republican on Capitol Hill knows. Every Republican Party leader across the nation knows. Those are devastating numbers. The Republicans lost in a landslide in the House of Representatives, their worst battering since Watergate. And now it continues just a few months later. Donald Trump continuing to lead them lower and lower and lower. Now, women are blaming the president, the Republicans, by a margin of 35%, while men are blaming the president and the Republicans by a margin of 13 points. When asked about the situation at the border, nearly half said there's a problem, but not a crisis. 26% said it wasn't a serious problem, but 24%, only 24%, less than 1 in 4 Americans said the situation was what Donald Trump said it was, a crisis. A majority of Americans oppose President Trump declaring a national emergency in order to build the wall. 66% to 31%. 2 in 1 oppose the president and the Republican Party shutting down the government to get extra money to build a wall. And CNN polling shows more than half of Americans oppose building any wall along the border with Mexico, while 39% favor the idea. But this is where it gets serious for the president, because this is a president who only cares about himself. Take a look at Donald Trump's approval rating. New CNN polling shows only 37% of Americans approve of his job performance. 57% disapprove. That is up 5 percentage points since December. And that increase comes largely from whites without a college degree, who, of course, have been a core group of supporters for the president. Currently, 45% approve, while 47% of whites without college degrees disapprove. The approval rating is down 9 points from last month, and this is the first time ever that Donald Trump has turned into negative territory with the group. And even the pollster that the president points to as his validator, Rasmussen Polling, finds that his ratings are falling. Trump's approval index dropped from -3 points a month ago to -13 points on Friday. At the beginning of January, he was at -7. Mika, devastating numbers all the way around. But again, this is something that we knew was coming. This is something that, bluntly, we warned Republicans they were going to shoulder the blame. This is something, when Donald Trump said in front of Nancy Pelosi and in front of Chuck Schumer, hey, I'm not going to blame you. This is all on me. This will be Trump's shutdown. The American people were listening, and there's nothing Donald Trump or any of the Republicans can do now trying to twist the facts to change any of that.
Well, you could see on Chuck Schumer's face in that meeting as he was sort of looking down and trying not to laugh, like, are you this stupid? Because when he said he would own that shutdown and put it in his own words on tape for everyone to see, he doesn't understand exactly how bad that shutdown is going to reflect on him. Those numbers are about the shutdown. Those numbers are about the wall. Yeah. Those numbers are about what's happening in Washington. But what's also happening, and what you could hear in the president's voice on Saturday night, appears to be panic.
By the way, can we just say, you don't have to be a pop psychiatrist to listen to Donald Trump's voice on Fox News this weekend. And he was in a full-on panic. Yeah. Full-on panic, talking 100 miles an hour. You know, that in that clip with Lemire, he just looks like he got caught. He got busted, and he was in front of Vladimir Putin, so he had to trash his own U.S. intel agencies. But boy,